And it says I am live. I think it's right. So once again, YouTube, they've been working on this whole live streaming interface and making it better. And better means changes, better means moving buttons, and better means hitting the live button didn't make it go live. But it's live now. So welcome to Vlog Thursday 185, UniFi Protect phone and SIP talk. Phone right here. So we're going to talk about that, I think. We're working on a call-in system. And maybe I'll post the number to this. There's only so many you can guess. Do we have audio? Video and audio. Thank you, Corey. I'm curious about that. What phone manufacturer? This is a Sangoma. So this is a Sangoma S505. We use a lot of these Sangoma S505 phones. They seem to be really popular. I've dropped it many times. It's held up through all the dropping that Tom has done with it. No, I'm not turning into another channel that drops things. Although we do have, and I'll dangle it, I won't drop it, this camera with a blue logo on it. So it's blue and the other ones are not blue. And I thought that was a change. It's actually kind of warm too and it feels nice on my hands. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. So, you want the go live button to actually make it go live? That would be cool. But we're going to talk a little bit about this camera. Matter of fact, that this camera is, we'll have some fun with this. Let's actually log in first to my UniFi Protect system. And we'll talk a little bit about the UniFi Protect system. And a couple people mentioned, and someone even emailed me or contacted me on the forums, and wanted to know why. Why, Tom? Why are you using that? We'll have to add a new view. Here, we'll do this together so you can see what's going on. Look, people wandering around the parking lot. So we're going to add a view. New camera. One camera view. Next. And we'll just drag this in here. Save. And now you can get the behind the scenes view with this camera. Oh, that's kind of cool. So you're watching it infinitely go into the other camera, looking into a camera, looking into a camera, especially if you do it like this. Isn't that fun? So this is a UniFi bullet camera. Actually, Kyle, what is the model on this camera?
G4. Yeah, I think it's just the G4.
G4, but G4,
not the Pro.
But not the Pro. Now you can see the delay that comes with these cameras. So this is the G4, but not the Pro camera. And
are you logged into the controller? It lists the
but I was
number.
doing the view things, that's why I didn't see the model number on it. It just said bullet. Oh, it does say G4 bullet. Neat. It's getting renamed.
Okay.
Where do you rename these things?
Maybe you click on it.
It's on general.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 4 bucks.
G4,
Yeah, probably wasn't.
UVC,
Okay.
G4 bullet, but not the Pro.
Okay.
All right. So the reason it's not the Pro, and the reason we even have these, and what someone had asked. So with the UniFi system, I know that they are discontinuing UniFi Video. Did a video about the discontinuing of UniFi Video, which I'm still less than happy about. But I still have a lot of clients that we did sell cameras to, and it's still less expensive and easier if a company already has a bunch of UniFi cameras to move them over to the UniFi Protect with the UniFi NVR, which is even what we did with the UniFi cameras we have here in the office. And the NVR you're looking at is the UniFi NVR behind me right here. It still works really well. So if it was a brand new install, do I like these as much? Not really. But for existing people, we're going to start migrating them over to Protect, and that's just part of it. Now, it's kind of comes with when they're upgrading. We're taking opportunity. We're leaving existing installs there, but if they have a system that is existing, like they have like 7, 8 UniFi cameras, and they go, hey, we'd like another camera. We go, well, we'd like to take an opportunity here to upgrade your NVR at the same time and get them on that newer platform. So obviously there's some selling involved if you do this, but that's all part of it and part of what needs to be done when you get these. So yes, I'm still installing UniFi Protect systems because a full rip and replace is less great of an idea and a much harder sell to rip and replace, especially when their system works and they're calling you to add 1 or 2 more cameras or expand their building. So yeah, The view, I hate that. Let's see here. What else do we have? Trying to catch up here. Bash the like button. Yes, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. That would be great. Drop test. We're not drop testing a camera. That seems like a bad idea. I have seen them survive drop test. Good morning from Australia. I had some Australian hot sauce, and I will bring that up briefly. You know, I jumped across. We didn't go to the hot sauce. People ask about it. I don't feel like getting it out right now. I don't want to eat any more hot sauce today. I have had enough. But I did find from my folks in Australia. Thank you from Australia. We got the morning after hot chili mango sauce. And this is pretty good. This was sent to us by some fans in Australia, mailed and sealed. So this is pretty good. They sent us a couple other ones as well. And let me see if I can pull those up. Yeah, these. So we got that one, Outback Storm, Double Trouble, 2 different pictures of it, and a sticker from apparently VIP member of the Chili Factory. So thank you for the people that sent that out to us. And yes, we're definitely enjoying the hot sauce on that. That's some good stuff. Oh, and if you want to see something stupid, this is the things you didn't know you had to deal with as a business owner. That is frozen coils. And that's me doing a sound test. There we go. There's a frozen system that is our air conditioning unit. So yeah, that was a fun thing I had to deal with. I talked about it in another video, but you know, as a business owner, when things break, you are responsible for those things to keep the business going. So yeah, that's always fun. Anyways, back to the topic of here. This is an L480 laptop. Someone asked that. There's a review. If you type in L480 in a channel search, you'll find a review of this laptop. Some work better. Some things require a drop in order to work. So I won't say better, but firefighter hot sauce, I don't think I've had that one. Over condensing, yes. Over condensing because it was low, and when it's low on Freon, it will freeze up. That is a symptom of it. So what are the cameras behind you running on? This is all part of the UniFi Protect system. So behind me, and we'll go back over here to the UniFi Protect system, and we'll go here to the devices. We'll go to the, where's the Magic TV tube? Right here, Magic Video Tube. Actually, I think we gotta go here, and we'll change it to the new camera. Yep, and now it's switched. So now behind me, this is going to be fun. This camera is what's on display behind me, and this is all being facilitated by the UniFi Protect system. And I did a review on this. It's the UniFi Protect Video Tube, as I call it, but it's the add-on that allows you to display to a TV, and it allows you to look around my studio here and see what's out of camera range. Look, boxes and stuff and things. Yeah, all kinds of stuff over here. And don't worry about seeing addresses on here because all the address to everything, in case someone's wondering, someone will bring it up. Hey, there was an address on there. It is to Thomas Lawrence at my business address. So, I mean, I could always double zoom into that, but all this other stuff's just all packages that get sent here. I have everything sent here to the office. My office address is public. So, but thank you for your concern, because that does come up. Someone's like, hey, you had an address in the background or something. I'm like, what's my building address that's actually publicly listed on my website? Anyways, I overall, though, will say the UniFi Protect system, despite my feelings about UniFi Video, the UniFi Protect system has been really solid. It's been reliable, and we've been putting in as a replacement on there for, what do you call it? A replacement for the UniFi Video systems when you got to drop NVRs in. That is kind of a stemming from the question I asked the other day on my previous video, kind of a behind the scenes and how I should handle the channel. And overall, the more I think about it, and of course a lot of the feedback I got influenced this as well, I'm just going to leave everything on one channel. It's just going to be, one, it's a whole lot easier to do. I didn't want to split it, but there seemed to be enough people in the comments that wanted to see the video, the business videos sprinkled in between, that worked out. So I was definitely happy to hear that, because that just means less inconveniences for me. So what do I think about the Reolink systems? I haven't used the Reolink systems. I've used some of the Reolink cameras. We've had kind of a mixed feelings on the Reolink cameras. We've had a handful of them go bad. We don't know if it's a bad batch or what. So kind of mixed on those. seems like they die right away, not later. So we've got, a handful of relinks out there with the Synology, and some died at the beginning. Some were dead on arrival, but then the ones that have been installed for a while just keep on working. So it's kind of a wait and see. It's not easy, and it's hard to say because we did so many at once. Was it a batch or was it a problem over time? Is it systemic? I'm kind of mixed on that. We went through, and I think I can't remember the other ones we're getting now. I'll have to make a list. I'm waiting on them to be in the field longer for me to do the review, because reviewing them here in the studio, of course they work in the studio. Of course they work on the demo. What do they look like a year later? That's what really matters. What does it look like, after it survived a full seasonal, well, we have 4 seasons here in Michigan. What does it look like after a full, winter, summer cycle, spring, fall, rainy, wet? How do they hold up over time is a better review, in my opinion, but that also means I have to wait more time before I do said review. So we're still working on that. Let's see, options on the Protect and Apple TV app or their own peer app. I've never used the Apple TV app, so I have no opinion on it. I've only used their own little box. So I have no opinion on the Apple TV app because I've never used it. I don't have an Apple TV, so I can't even test it. And I don't plan to buy one for the test because it doesn't interest me. Reolink should make black cameras. You can always paint them black. We've definitely used Hikvisions. I don't think we use many LabVIEWs, but I know we've used quite a few Hikvision. We've used a few LabVIEWs, but I don't know how many. That can be tricky just to try and run through every job and figure out which cameras we use. I mean, it's not tricky. I have it all documented in the system, but then try to put together reviews and follow up with all of them. Yeah. Using pfSense, WireGuard, VPN endpoint. Yep, whenever they integrate it, I'll do a video on that. Until they integrate it, I probably will never do a video on that. So I don't have an interest. This is the part that always puzzles me, because it almost seems to be like a Venn diagram of the same people, of being super conscious about security, wanting to try unvetted products and every random firewall to try to get more secure, or other protocols or other VPNs that are less vetted. And that doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, I could draw that, two overlapping, and those people that seem to ask me that question are always in the middle. I want it to be super locked down and secure, but I want to use this brand new unvetted protocol out there. And I say unvetted, it just hasn't gone through a solid code audit. So rigging your VPN and customizing something unofficially supported by the main project seems like a recipe for having a lot of problems. And especially problems when it comes to security are bad. I don't like exposing my network. The firewall is the front line between you and the rest of the world. Why would you want to try to rig and bolt on something that the project itself didn't do it, unless you're really skilled at programming and writing and know how to integrate those things? So yeah, I don't really recommend loading unofficial packages on there unless you just want to test and learn, or you're a programmer. So I don't usually do videos on those topics either. So question, your pfSense certificate video would be my best option to secure my Nextcloud gel for remote access. It doesn't, having a self-sign versus a Let's Encrypt cert doesn't necessarily change the level of security. I mean, you have a certificate and you don't have the stupid little error. You're still secure if you use a self-signed certificate. But if you're going for no certificate, then yeah, then you're upping it. If you have it internally set up, it's only running on port 80 with no certificate or even a self-signed one, and you want it externally running with Let's Encrypt in a reverse proxy like HA proxy setup, that does work really well, and it is a nice way to automate it at the firewall level instead of trying to build the automation at the jail level. Pick your choice of which one you think is easier. I like handling it in pfSense. Maybe that's easier for you, or maybe it's easier to handle it inside the jail. Which one is your learning curve? I know, like my friend who does proxies for a living, he doesn't do pfSense for a living. He puts all the, he knows how to set up Nginx like the back of his hand. Therefore, he puts all this proxy and Let's Encrypt stuff right in there because he knows how to do it, and it's actually easier for him because he doesn't know pfSense as well. So it comes down to where you want to do it. Both are acceptable ways to do it. So what else do we have here? WireGuard is not available currently for pfSense. Also, WireGuard is being integrated to the BSD project by the same developers who develop pfSense. So while I know there are other projects that have it available, if you want it, they've bolted it on themselves, but if you want it from the official upstream people and integrated in pfSense, that's actually the people at Netgate are doing the code contribution for that upstream. FYI. Let's see, what else do we have here? No, FreeNAS doesn't have an Zabbix agent plugin. It'd be cool if they did. That is something you can add on later for monitoring. You can just run it from the command line and kick it off. I don't know. It's on my to-do list. It's just so in-depth to do a Zabbix video. I have to figure out the time to do it. So that's, at some point, that's what I'm running into, is I have to try and figure it out. I've had a few people ask if I could just package things up and sell them as a course. It's just the level of time it takes to do a short video or talk about a camera versus the in-depth level of time it takes, like the 3 hours this morning I spent working on a new pfSense video before you edit it all. I mean, it's just, it's hard to justify the cost value in it and things like that. I don't know. I'm working on some ways to get that, or maybe I'll find someone to sponsor it, or maybe the Zabbix company itself will sponsor it. It's just a lot of time. I know how to set it up. I have it set it up, but for me to go through and set it all up again and then document it into a video, it's going to take some hours to get that done. So that's, yeah. What do I think of FreePBX? I use it. We've been using it for years. I like FreePBX. pfSense with cellular failover? Not likely. I mean, usually you just get something that will provide an IP address from a cellular carrier, and it's just a WAN failover at that point. You don't have to do anything special in pfSense. It's just a standard WAN failover. There's also a Venn diagram of people who wear sandals and socks. That is true. Site-to-site VPN's usually a little bit faster with IPsec and versus OpenVPN. IPsec does have that ability. The way it works is a little bit less overhead on the processor than OpenVPN. Provided you have decent firewalls, usually the limitation for VPNs is not IPsec or OpenVPN. Most of the time, the limitation is the internet bandwidth they have available. But with gigabit internet becoming, and symmetrical gigabit or symmetrical high-speed internet becoming faster, you're more likely to start running into where it may be the firewall that is the limitation. But mostly we run into the limitation on site-to-site VPNs being the internet connection speed that they have. I am never considering in the near future an IPv6 video on pfSense. So no, I do not consider doing it. Just not going to happen anytime soon. I don't really have a use case. I don't use it until I'm using something. I usually don't do a video on it because the time it takes me to learn it is substantially more if I just learn something for a video versus if it's something I do every day. It just flows out of me because I'm just telling you about something I already know. But I don't always dive into some topic for a video just for the sake of the video. That's much less frequently. That's also what makes my tutorials way easier to do. It's easier for me to talk about the things I know than the things I don't know, especially when I don't use them. When I don't use something, that becomes it that much more difficult because all I'm doing is RTFM and regurgitating, but not applying any practical knowledge to it. I try to bring value by sharing not only how something works, but why it works and the practical knowledge of how you use it. To me, that makes a more well-rounded tutorial. That's generally my opinion, and maybe that's why you're here, because you like some of those. Oh, what else do we have here? Good proven advice to try to protect your network in times of ransomware. Tell people to quit clicking on things. Your users, it's not the fire. This is actually the big argument. You see all these big companies, trust me, they have insert name of corporate company, and you can probably dig around and find out what, bells and whistles they had, which corporate massive product line they had stuck in there to protect them. Name all the big companies and all the security protection. And then you find out the ransomware, but you're like, Tom, they had the best monitoring. They bought all these high-end firewalls with subscription services and filtering, and it just cut through it like butter. Sure does. Talking someone over the phone, and when you're talking about the scale and scope of these ransomware attacks on these corporate companies, they don't call it spear phishing, they call it whaling because you're getting after these big companies. they get an end user and pivot from there. Principles of least privilege are usually where people fail. They have a person who had too much privilege that allowed them to pivot through the network. Second is some user was talked into doing something, and I do mean talked into. Sometimes they actually get on the phone and call them, and that is where you really have to focus for the ransomware to save it. It's not just some technology solution. There's a massive amount of training that goes into protecting against ransomware. There's not like this product. Trust me, I've been in security long enough that every time some company tells me it's like a big warning going off, oh, it's hack proof. No, you don't guarantee nothing. The sales guy makes a guarantee. The lawyers can sort it out later whether or not that sales guy lied. The only people happy is the lawyers while you are dealing with ransomware, because the product that was supposed to protect you got run right over because so-and-so in accounting answered the call, walked through some steps that someone told them to do, and loaded some ransomware on a system they had too much privilege on. So there are no solid end-all answers to it. That's my rant on ransomware. People are always the weakest link, yes. GeoVision, heard of them, don't really use them. I'm aware of them, never used them. GeoVision cameras. Just ask Twitter. Now, Twitter was a blatant pile of stupidity, and I'm almost driven a little bit crazy by the conspiracy people, and I think it's because the conspiracy people, they think that it can't happen because it's too complex. They can't have that port of security. There's no way someone at Twitter just pinned God mode credentials to the top of a Slack channel and then left those credentials there where over 1,000 contractors could potentially access it. Yes, there's definitely a way. I've worked in corporate. If you don't work in corporate, you have this vision that these companies are professional and organized. Trust me, you start peeling back the layers, you're like, oh no, it's that little chaos that you deal with, it scales upwards. Especially at some of the higher levels of companies, there's this illusion, I think, that because they're organized, that there's some level of professionalism. And sometimes there is, but other times there's credentials pinned in a Slack channel. So residential site-to-site VPN VoIP, I don't know what that is. So my thoughts on it are, I guess if that makes you happy to do that, then do that. So I don't know what residential VPN VoIP is. I guess you could put your VPN and set up a VoIP. I don't know. If you're asking, do our remote workers VPN in to get to their phones? Yes, because they VPN to get to our free PBX. Free PBX has a VPN built into it, but I don't know what that question is. Post that in the forums if you want a more in-depth answer than that. What do you think about network port segmentation breaking lateral movement? I mean, it just becomes how much do you want to manage? And because you need certain levels of access where things need to talk to each other, at what level do you want to manage that? So do you want someone to ask for permission every time they go to a file share to open a file? Or if you look at a case of ransomware, they're not usually pivoting from this laptop to another computer on the same LAN. They frequently pivot and go, hey, guess what? I had the admin credentials on here, and that allowed them to pivot over to the servers. That's a lot of time what they're attacking. So on a per port level, I see people put so much effort into that and still get ransomware because it didn't stop the problem of their password got out. They had the admin credentials logged in. They were able to pivot from a computer, get the, do the pass the hash, be able to reverse that, use Mimikatz is really popular. Look up how to use that tool. And they were using Mimikatz to get the password and impersonate and move over to a higher level system. So yeah, you spent, 20 hours and all this money on these really great switches. You put in a NAC system, a network access control system that stopped all lateral movement. And while you're done with your giant budget for this, you go, ransomware walked right through, got our Mimikatz got our credentials and locked the server. Yep, that was cool that you put NAC in, but it did nothing. I see people focusing on so many of those things. We even had requests for them where they go, oh, we really need to implement this. I'm like, is that where it is? Now, that will add a layer of protection. It will stop rogue devices. And one of the suggestions I had for someone who's like, I don't know, we really need network access control because we don't want anyone plugging in any ports, random rogue devices, because we found a Raspberry Pi. We don't know where it came from, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, have you ever considered just turning all the ports off for everything that's not in use? And there was a pause, and they go, it's a great idea. I said, yeah, it's really inexpensive too. Disable all ports except for the ones in use. Well, what if they unplug something? Well, then that person's going to be upset because whatever their computer is gets unplugged, and they're going to go, hey, my computer quit working, or my phone quit working, or a device quit working, and you've now been alerted to go do something. So instead of spending that, if you have the budget to spend on all that, great, go spend it. It's great. I like more security, but when you're looking for affordable solutions, especially when you talk about companies that may have 1,000, devices to manage, a whole bunch of switches, you can look at just doing something simple like leave disabled. Matter of fact, one of the clients we took on, I thought that was kind of cool. When we plugged things in, we noticed it didn't work. We had talked to them. We were putting cameras in for them. We're like, hey, these ports aren't working. Oh, no. And they made it very clear right away. All ports are disabled. Let us know which ones you plug in, and then they will turn on. Fair enough. That's solid. I kind of like that better from a security standpoint. Like I said, if you can get those other things, it's great, but you can also start with low-hanging fruit and disable not-in-use ports. Hack-proof Windows, right. Conspiracy is lazy intellect, probably. I've always joked that some conspiracy people don't believe in the butterfly effect. They can't believe any small thing can create a big action. And that's actually more frequently the case. It's not that people conspire to do things as much as a small little action kind of, spirals out of control, versus a lot of people assume a big action required a big level of control to create that action. That couldn't have been someone doing something stupid and sticking this over here that eventually led to this larger catastrophic event. They just keep thinking there has to be more. Or the other crazier thought, and this is scary, is they like the thought that there's someone in control because it is truly terrifying to think that, well, the entire stock market is not, controlled by a bunch of really smart people, but a bunch of primates mashing away at keyboards and making guesstimates about what things are valued at. And then there's a feeling they all get that it's not worth as much, and then the stock market goes up and down, and that seems even more terrifying than some shady group trying to control it. And it scales to everything. Like I said, I'm not going to go rant on that too much, but yes. What else do we have here? Switch off power sockets and PDU in the rack that may not be also used. Yeah, I mean, when someone has physical access to your rack, there's going to be like a lot of challenges. I commented, I'm working on a new pfSense video, and one of the things I commented is like, you can password protect the console on a pfSense. The other side of that is, once they have physical access to, hold the device in their hand, the console on this is USB. Someone can plug into it, actually on the back on this one, and someone can plug into it and do something. But once they physically got this in their hand and they have the ability to reboot and boot off of a USB or do something with it, they could get your config files, they can do things. So even if they have a password on it, they could simply reboot it and go to the bootloader level and get access to the device itself. Related to that, speaking of getting on bootloaders, the news thought that the boot hole was a bigger problem than it was. I think it's when a vulnerability has a cool name like boot hole, people like to jump and talk about it, but it's also one of those things. And I thought this was funny because they had to modify your grub.config. That is takes elevated privileges. So if you have to modify my grub.config, which means you have elevated privileges on the system, why would you try to do a buffer overflow there? You've already got elevated command line level privileges to my main drive. I think you already have access to my system in a terrible way. So I don't saying it shouldn't be fixed. I'm just saying once someone has that level of control, you pretty much are already owned. It's just the nuance of how they want to take over your system. It seems like exploiting a buffer overflow to change something in to get it into the UEFI when it also requires that you have physical, like read-write access to a system level file, yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal, but whatever. How would you secure outdoor cat cabling going to outdoor Wi-Fi access points? Usually put it in metal conduit or plastic conduit to seal it, like electrical conduit, essentially. That's the best way to do that. Yeah. Oh, and VLANs. Definitely VLANs. You can also do MAC locking, but then again, anyone who's going to take the time to try to access it, if that was the security risk, or plugging into an external camera, I mean, you could always lock a port to a specific MAC address, but then the threat actor can just figure out what the MAC address is on it and clone it and then become the camera. And I don't know. It's kind of an edge attack. I think if someone's after you that bad, you probably have bigger problems. Or if they're willing to go through the trouble of that, yeah. I'm not saying not to do those things, but think about that as a security risk is kind of interesting. Do I have a tutorial on setting up a home phone system? No, I don't directly. I would recommend Chris from Crosstalk Solutions has some in-depth tutorials for free PBX. I have a tutorial which was co-authored with Chris from Crosstalk Solutions on my channel, but he's got way more videos on diving deep into doing free PBX. I am not an expert on free PBX. Matter of fact, we still use Chris for some of the free PBX stuff. What else were we going to talk? We did say we were going to talk about phones today, and I'm going to talk about this other company. Let me log into the site. You guys keep bringing up phones. And I have an offer code for this company. I'm going to bring that up too. So let me show you. We have a lot of clients in here, so I can't just show. We have a lot of numbers. Where are all my DADs? And I can pull up the one. Oh, there we go. The LTS Live one. So, I'm going to do some videos. People ask me, what's a good VoIP service? So at some point, you can use free PBX, you can use a phone, but the other question you're going to have is, well, at some point, someone has to provide the dial tone service. And I've talked about VoIP.ms before. I still really like their service. We'll switch it over. It's VoIP.ms. We do have an offer code for doing that, and I'm okay if you see this phone number in here. So where is that phone number? Actually, I gotta switch screens 1 second. I think that's it. Let's dial it and find out. Actually, can you hand me that phone, Kyle? Yeah. I'd rather dial it from that phone than my phone. Which one you want? Any phone. There's one over there. Kyle's gonna hand me a phone so I can. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
It's on the screen behind you.
Oh yeah.
They watch me microwave some chicken.
Yeah, Kyle's microwaving chicken over there. For anyone wondering, that's.
It smells delicious.
Yeah, the smell-o-vision isn't working today, so let's dial this phone number. 652 8. That looks like the right number. Well, that didn't work at all. So let's try dialing my phone number so I can get the number. Or is this thing not working? Maybe. There you go. Okay, I dialed the number wrong. But this is VoIP.ms on both sides here working. So what I want to talk about is, and we're going to not in this particular live show, but to talk about, demos always break, all circuits busy now. Yeah. You know, I wonder because all of you are probably calling it. That's why it's all circuits busy.
That actually just happens recently with VoIP.ms. We're not sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you may have to reboot it.
May have to reboot something. Yeah, we'll call tech support. So the number is 276-529-8324. I don't know if any of you will call this or not, or maybe all of you are trying to call this one. So that is the number to this. Now, VoIP.ms is kind of interesting. This is what we were playing with here, so I can dive a little deeper into it. This is the NVR setup. So let me switch back to the screen. And it allows us to build in their VoIP.ms system, not just assign numbers or use them for SIP provisioning, which allows us to, our free PBX talks to VoIP.ms. VoIP.ms provides our main dial tone number, so our main office number is there, but then we set up another phone in there, and they actually have the ability to set up an MVR. So I'm working on doing a series of videos of all the features that you get with VoIP.ms, and one of the things I really like about them, and we've been using them for a while, we have some, my reviews getting...
IVR.
I said IVR.
You said NVR.
Oh, I said whatever. I mean IVR in case I said NVR. Steve says I said something else. Anyways, so yeah, calls tech support, dials my own number. That is for sure. So the simple answer, or kind of what I'm getting at here, is I'm going to do some videos on one, how you can, without having free PBX, set up a call-in IVR system and then have a couple phones for a real basic phone system and a really inexpensive way to deploy that. And we do have an offer code and a deal if you want to sign up to VoIP.ms. We actually worked that out with them. So when I do these series of videos that come up, we already have the offer code on our site for the sign-up links, but we're going to kind of show you all the bells and whistles and features that you can get with VoIP.ms. And I've been really impressed with their pricing. They have some of the best pricing while also being feature rich, I have found. So you even have text messaging to email abilities, so people can text us, people can send things to us. That helps for doing especially support, especially because it forwards over to a support email for us, which makes it a lot easier. But finding a good affordable phone system that also easily integrates with different backends. We've tried it with VoIP.ms. I can't remember, there's a couple other phone systems that we've plugged into, but it's providing standard SIP service, so you can plug it into whichever one you want, and it's worked really well, while at the same time being a really affordable system. And that's kind of been that happy balance of affordability, reliability. The one thing that someone had complained about, there's a forum post I have on this topic where people were hoping to get even more in-depth on the support, but that's one thing they don't offer. That's because support is so damn expensive, and so they do have limited amounts of support, so you do have to come at this with a level of knowledge of how SIP and IVR and phone systems work. So I'll be talking, when I do this video, about the porting process, how you bring numbers into, whether or not you want those numbers ported in and brought over to a free PBX or any type of PBX system, or you can have these being talked to directly. Like this Sangoma phone is actually registered directly with VoIP.ms without a PBX in between, versus this Yealink actually talks to our PBX system. So this one is going through, and I'm going to do some breakdown videos of when you should have that or when you should look at something else. So what I'm trying to look for are solutions that to me are just better than things that are really popular out there, like Ring Central. Ring Central, I get mixed emotions about it. It's a pretty encompassing service that has a lot that comes with it, but it also, when you start scaling out, the phones, you're like, wow, this is quite a bit per month I'm paying. With VoIP.ms, we were able to move companies away from solutions like that and get them in a plan that saved them a lot of money and still provided them really good service. Now, granted, we're still, doing support and doing the middle on there, so that's where our value comes in. But overall, we've been really happy with the service. And like I said, that's something a lot of people ask for, is what's a good VoIP provider? And before VoIP.ms, we were always kind of on the fence. I didn't like as much. They were very not so feature rich, was the previous company you're with. I didn't have any real downtime issues with them, but Vitality was that previous company. After switching to VoIP.ms, wow, they have everything. They have so many menus. It's taking me a little bit longer to come up with a video on it, but overall, I'm really happy with their service. And I say that after porting a lot of numbers in there and moving quite a few. So a couple of the examples I'm going to give, I'm going to do some summaries on people that have a lot of phones in their VoIP.ms account. So that way I can give you, once again, not a review of, hey, this is a cool service, but a service we're using. Hey, and here's a service we've ported a bunch of phone numbers into, and here's how that went, and here's that process, and kind of that better follow-up. And some of the porting started last year and into this year, so it's going to be like a 7-month review of VoIP.ms. Anyways, let's see. Plenty of data on my phones. Never used Twilio. I looked at it. It looked neat, but yeah, I thought VoIP.ms had more features that I wanted, especially for all the free PBX integration stuff. Do you get an okay with the Yealink? We've had these Yealinks for years. They have been great. So, but I'm also using these. We actually started on Ring Central forever ago. We used Ring Central briefly, like 5 years ago. And Ring Central worked fine with the Yealinks. We moved over to free PBX, and the Yealinks seem to work perfectly fine on free PBX. I have no problems with them. Someone said Microsoft Teams in these. I don't know. I've never used the Microsoft voice service, so I don't know how well they work on those. Let's see. We had a couple clients that had 3CX. I mixed on it. We admin those clients that had it. It was okay. I wasn't blown away or amazed by it. I didn't hate it either. So the 3CX has some licensing fees associated with it. I thought it was okay. I tried it. I set it up. As a matter of fact, I tried it before free PBX, and once I got to free PBX, I felt restricted in 3CX. It probably would have done everything I wanted to do. I feel unrestricted, especially because I even was playing around with some custom PHP stuff. Free PBX is like, kind of reminds me of PFSense, where it has everything in it. That's how I feel about free PBX. It's kind of like the everything. If there's some weird thing I want to come up with, I don't have any worries at all whether or not it will work in free PBX. I'm positive there's a write-up on it. There's a document on it. So Teams voice. See, we don't use Microsoft here, so I don't know. I got no real comments on the Microsoft one. So, yeah. Why not white label VoIP? I have thought about it. There's good and bad by white labeling the VoIP. If you white label it, you have to collect all the taxes on it. We do have, and we set our clients up as a reseller of the VoIP.ms, and what they do is we give them a portal to log into, so we're kind of white labeling it from that standpoint. But it kind of depends on what we're dealing with. Sometimes our projects are dealing with other internal IT teams who don't like white label things. They want to know what we're using. They want to know the details. So we're brought in as a consultant to get them set up on something. So haven't tried SipXCom. So what else do we have here? Lots of things. I think we're reaching towards the end of all this, because that's my phone and SIP talk. This is the new, but not the Pro camera. This is, I think, the not 4K, but 2K camera from UniFi. I don't know if I'm going to do an independent review of it. We got it because we needed another camera, and it wasn't much more to get this one versus one of the other ones. So we just didn't have one, so we wanted to try it. I thought about doing a follow-up review on the cameras for UniFi. One thing I will say for the UniFi cameras, they've been reliable. For the quantity we installed, I have a broken camera. I have one disassembled UniFi camera here. This is the only camera out of all the ones, and I'll have to get the math out to figure out exactly how many we've ever ordered. I have one broken UniFi camera. They're reliable. I will say that. Whether you disagree with all their UniFi, dropping the UniFi video line and moving it to Protect, yeah, that's all valid. But when it came to their cameras not dying and being installed for a number of years, that's been pretty solid. Some of these have been installed since 2017. They're still working perfectly fine. Matter of fact, the cameras for our office, some of the ones on the outside of the building were put up 3 years ago when we got the building, and those are directly in our building. They work fine too. So that's been, pretty solid on that. Do you only need a reseller permit to VoIP services, or are there any licenses, special regulatory approval you need to start? That's where things get a little bit complicated where you want to fit into the VoIP market. One challenge is with the VoIP market, someone has to collect all the taxes and each state and all the different regulatory things. So if you partner with someone, let's say Ring Central is, because they're a big company to do example, and you become a Ring Central reseller, they're taking care of all that. So you have to be careful that if you're reselling VoIP that you are, or the company you're reselling for is not relying on you to collect all the taxes and break things out, and that they can actually provide broken out taxes in case the client wants to see any of that on there. Because the phone systems aren't just like other products where it's a special markup. There's more that can go into it. So just my thoughts on there. Oh no, we definitely dropped UniFi cameras. There was an incident where more than one camera fell off a ladder, and they worked. Matter of fact, they're still installed and working. So the drop camera test has been tested on the UniFis on a shop floor, and that happened. Those are not actually, and that's not this one. So. How do you make margin selling UniFi? You don't. We tell people if you buy it from us, there's a markup, and they go, I don't want to pay your markup. I say, then go buy it. You pay by engineering time. It's really simple, and I've seen people, this kind of drives me nuts, and I think I've mentioned it almost at least once every Vlog Thursday, where I see posts all the time in the forums, oh man, I'm dropping this company because I can't make enough money because the clients can figure out the prices. I'm like, then learn a skill. Don't sell someone else's hardware. Selling someone else's hardware is always a race to the bottom. I don't know the validity of this, but someone had commented recently on 3CX because apparently 3CX doesn't have the same requirements to be a reseller. So someone got sniped by them reselling 3CX, and the client went to 3CX directly, and now this person is losing it. Selling someone else's product as a rule, not just in IT, but specifically in IT is what we're talking about, just reselling someone else's product is a race to the bottom. Sure, every company has, when they come out there, oh, we'll come up with a special agreement and we won't tell prices to anyone. And then they realize, wow, the market's big, our name is known, screw all the people in the middle, cut out the middleman, and we make all the margin, and you don't control the product line. The way we do things is we are value add, as in we do the network engineering. There's the value we're adding. So cool, go buy the parts from whoever you want to buy the parts from. Have us remote in. That's where I make my money, is on the labor, design, and engineering side of it to do these projects. Trying to make my margin on that without making my margin on my time it took to design and engineer a network seems like a race to the bottom. So yeah, I don't mind where you buy the UniFi from. If you want to pay me to configure and design your network, hey, there's a hire us button at the top of our website. So yeah, that's I don't know. I see a lot of people talk about that, and I don't know what. Yeah, value-added reseller is overrated. A lot of people are just resellers. They're not adding any value. They just don't seem. Sometimes I've talked to people, and they don't even seem to understand the product they're selling. So, sell value, yes. That's hopefully. Yeah, and I mentioned this, and I thought it was funny when I talked about that project where we did the 300 UniFi install, and I even commented the client wanted to buy that themselves. And hey, if you take up and let's run a let's get the calculator out real quick. So let's do some math. So if we have at $349 each times 300 units, that is $104,000 of UniFi HD Pros, because I think the MSRP is $349, or at least was at the time. They might be a little bit cheaper now. So the client looked at this and said, we would not like to pay any markup on that. We'd like to see what kind of deal we can get. Well, I don't make margin on that, so why should I go through the trouble of managing their money, especially because I now have to have the output of cash to purchase all of these. So by taking this, and there was a value put on the time and engineering that we charged to design this project, we let them buy the UniFis. We did provide the physical labor of installing them. So there was one piece. We gave them a per unit price to install it. Then we also did the design and engineering of how to set this project up. And we have a number of hours it took to set that up. And we gave them a quote. It's going to be this many hours to configure and set this up. That's where I made all my money on that project, and we are happy with what we made on that project. And the other people who said, I would never let my client buy the parts themselves, I'm like, oh, cool, you now lost the sale to me. That's fine. I made the margin on my part, and you lost because you tried to take someone else's product and put a markup on it and failed, because companies are smart enough and they went and contacted a reseller and said, we need to spend $100,000 with you. Will you give me a deal? And they go, $100,000? Yeah, I'll cut you a deal. And why should I get in the middle of them cutting a deal? I don't make the product. and I want to make the money on my labor. So that's my thoughts on that. Hopefully that makes a little sense. I know there's still someone angry, all caps. I never let my clients buy things. By the way, best part is, and something else to consider, when they buy the product, you also remove yourself of liability of when a unit goes bad, because they didn't buy it from me. So if a unit were to go bad, they only had one, I commented in the video, but just in general, if they buy the parts and a unit goes bad, they have to replace the unit. And you know who's not in charge of the labor for replacing that unit if you have to get involved? No, you have an entire new billable set of actions of, hey, the thing we ordered from someone else broke. We ordered another one, but we're not sure how to configure it, and we go back out there and help, and now we just got to bill again. But if I sold you this camera top to bottom and you didn't buy it yourself and the camera broke, and I told you I'm going to charge you for it, you're going to go, but you installed it and I bought it from you, and et cetera, et cetera. So those are my thoughts on it. It can go both ways. We do sell it either way. Some people want us to do it top to bottom. Some people go, I want to buy it myself. So that's a few things to think about there. Buy $100K worth of product and hope to get paid. One of the deals is, what I liked what it said. I think one of them, they call it mobilization in the contractor world. I've seen that phrase tossed around. Your mobilization check. What that means is, I want 100%. If I have to outlay $100,000 for a project, that's fine. I want that up front. I want at least half down on my labor up front. So I'll break those things out, and I want that down. It really depends on my relationship with that particular client. If it's a new client, because I don't know if they are someone who has a habit of delaying payments, I may ask for even more up front. But the hardware, generally speaking, I want that up front. I want some level of guarantee, and it goes on confidence level of the client. I mean, we generally have a rule of 50% down, but a project like this is actually it's heavier. It's not like we charge them $100,000 to do the project in labor, so it's heavier on the product side. So if they were to buy it all from us, we would have asked for the product price up front due to the fact that, you know, it would have been delivered directly to them or however we had it configured. So there's a lot of yes, contracts are as good as the lawyers that want to dispute them. So it's not even about signing a contract. I've heard people say that as if that's the solution. No. Contracts are only as good as the lawyers that want to stand behind them. Not even the lawyers that wrote them, the lawyers that want to stand behind them and fight it out. So it's better to get things as much as you can up front with cash. And it does go both ways. They have to trust you with whatever upfront cash that you'll not just not do the thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that you don't need the contract, but it is it's a back and forth on there. It's really about confidence level in the project. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. What else do we have to talk about here? I guess I'd even cover some of the business talk on there. I don't know what I have for Errata today. I do have a hoarse voice. So for those of you, and I think you can sign up for it afterwards, follow me on Twitter. I did a webinar today where I talked for over an hour with Don Perez from IT Pro TV, talking about starting businesses and IT and all kinds of fun tech. But yeah, there's a lot of talking I did today. I also am working on my in-depth pfSense video. I've gotten quite far on it. It's not finished. I still have more to record. It's going to be about an hour of pfSense. I want to do all in one video, so that's where I'm at with that. So that is extensive and a lot to talk about. So I got a lot of editing work. I got it halfway edited. And what I usually do when I do the editing work, someone asks for like my process. When I can, I'll do it all in one take. I just trim out all the extras I don't need out of a video, but it's essentially me sitting here for some length of time, let's say 2 hours, and I trim it down to a lesser time than 2 hours, and that becomes the video. But in the pfSense one, and this happens in some of the more in-depth ones, I get so far, I realize, okay, I'd like to do this section a little bit different, and I'll redo a couple sections on it. So I did most of it today, but I'll finish the other side of it tomorrow. And it's also complex because pfSense is so extensive. I know people have been asking for the 2020 video, but it's also like over the years I've realized pfSense has more features and more things I've covered. So I'm doing the main part of pfSense, but then I reference the other videos I did. So like this pfSense video is in depth, but doesn't contain the whole HA proxy because I have a separate one on that. I did a new Errata video, so I don't have a Errata section. I have a section on like that references. You can load Errata and reference my 2020 Errata video. So that's, yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, it's going to be an extensive walkthrough from top to bottom of pfSense. I'm also taking the time to index everything so you can jump through, because it's going to be over an hour or so of video. You'll be able to jump around in the video with indexes. YouTube supports that better now. I need to get better at doing it so you can jump to the sections of that you may want. So it's going to be one long video, but also broke down into segments. Do you have a sales team? Are they on commission or base? I'm looking for a sales team, but not sure commission or base. I have a video where I cover exactly how we do sales commissions. So look for sales commissions video on my channel. Would you recommend Sophos for endpoint? They seem to attract very large companies in Europe. They're popular. They've been around. We don't use them. I know people that do, and they seem happy with them. So I don't think there's any one company that's good or great at antivirus. Pick the one you think is the best, and then as soon as the contract's up, switch to another one because you hated that one, because that's what everybody does. There's no easy answer. They all suck. That's my honest opinion. Is I don't know any of them that I love. So use the one you think is best. It's a build a better mousetrap game. It's a I don't know. It's trying to secure Windows. I'm not blaming the antivirus companies. I'm blaming the fact that trying to secure Windows with it being such a huge system is not a easy task by any measure. So these antivirus companies have their work cut out for them, and it's very, very challenging. So there's none of them that are great. Could you do something on making a proxy for SSL? No, not likely. SSL decryption proxies are a nightmare. I hate dealing with them. They're always the source of great pain, especially with TLS 1.3 where they don't work at all. The only way they work with TLS 1.3 is if you get rid of, if you're not familiar with the TLS 1.3 standard, we have the encryption layer, and then we ratchet down a second ephemeral key through Diffie-Hellman. So there's a second Diffie-Hellman key inside that. So you're double encrypted. The second part of encryption, if that's turned on, you can't see an SSL because it's not. Even with the certificate installed, that's the whole purpose of it, is to essentially ratchet it down. That way if someone had the certificate, they couldn't still decrypt the traffic. That's what a lot of, as more companies require, like banking have requirements of high security, it causes these middle proxies just to break things more so than fix anything. So they're just a headache to deal with. So not likely. Yeah, Bitdefender is your favorite right now. Hey, why not? Yep, that is an SG 1100 in my hand. We do like the 3100s as well. That's why you can't find Linux security software. There is. I mean, there's still HID systems, and that's something I'm working on as well, is how to do some Linux security. I want to do some videos on it. It's just such a complicated topic, and it's just not. It's another one of those ones that doing in-depth videos on it is super hard, because setting up things like Wazoo or OSEC, people are like, oh yeah, I'd love to set up Wazoo or OSEC. I'm like, oh yeah, it can be done. I've done it. It's just extensive. And doing a video about it, man, it's just, people say there's no good videos. And I'm like, that's because of the number of hours it takes and time it takes. Because people say, well, the documentation's really extensive. I'm like, yeah, so is setting it up. So, matter of fact, I'm loading something right now, because we'll talk about kind of related to this. Once I get it pulled up, I'll find something that's non-incriminating. How's that? And I'm working on this. This I am working on as a demo, but it's also, I've done this before and I failed to ever make a video about it, so I'm doing it a little bit different this time. And I wanted to talk about, where's it at here? I'm going to pull it up in a second. I just want to make sure. There we go. Yep. All right, we'll switch to the screen here. If you ever wonder what happens when you push all your logging out of pfSense and into Security Onion, just not any of the HID stuff I was talking about, like Wazoo's a HID system, which is based on OSEC, where it does security monitoring and intrusion detection systems for Linux and for Windows simultaneously. Just what you get from Errata logs just on our network. And I think I turned this on Monday, so this is just a Tuesday, Wednesday, and now today is 1.9 million logs to go through, just mostly from Errata and some of the firewall rules. And yeah, it gets crazy how quick these logs start stacking up. This is a quick look at the Security Onion interface. So I will be doing some at least basic videos on here because I wanted to cover how you take logs out of pfSense and push them over to Security Onion, and able to visualize and tear through logging information and sensor information. I mean, there's a lot you can do. It's really slick, but it's just, once again, it's really extensive. I got to figure out where the cutoffs are, because does Tom talk for 2 hours just covering the basics of it, or do we dive more in depth on this particular aspect of it? And hold on, find another dashboard that I can show. That's the other problem, is sorting all these dashboards out to make them look decent so you can look through things is not easy either. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, cool. This is another one. Now, when you start expanding out all the logs that are in there, so Errata is the almost 1.9 million logs, the syslog 1.4 million, 488,000 events from the firewall, and then just a handful of other ones on there, including I was even having it sort DHCP stuff. You can take in each one of these and push all this data right out of pfSense and right into Security Onion. Matter of fact, I'll show you. It's not too hard to do. That part isn't. But setting up Security Onion on the other side, well, that is a little bit harder to do. So let me get to this interface, because Security Onion was designed to be a port mirror of your interface, so you dump full PCAP mirrored data to Security Onion for parsing. But what I'm doing is a little bit different. We go into the firewall and we push all the data in two spots. And I'm going to get to that one section real quick here. There we go. There's two spots that you need to do this in. You take, this is the Errata settings inside of pfSense, and we run, instead of running Errata on Security Onion, where it does live and can run, we run Security Onion as a syslog server. Then we take Errata on pfSense. Then we go to the Eve output settings and the Eve JSON log, and I put all these settings in, and now you're pushing JSON data, all the events out of Errata running on pfSense over to Security Onion for analysis. So your blocks and everything happen at the firewall level, so Errata can do its job, do its filtering. I've got the recent video I did on Errata, and then all the event and correlation data, including the firewall logs, so you can pivot across your network, because all the syslog as well is being pushed over to Security Onion. And I want to do a video on that. But where do you start? I'm going to start with loading. Start with, you already have to know pfSense. Start with loading Security Onion. Start with, you already have to have Errata set up. So I'll have like a playlist. These are all the playlist prerequisites video before we spend 2 hours setting up Security Onion in a video. So you can kind of see what a daunting task, and this is kind of how I failed last time, was I took on more than I had time to do. I do want to do a video on all this, but it's stuff I know how to set up. It's just extensive. And I didn't even touch on how to set up Wazoo and each one of the endpoints that would also tie into Security Onion. So I may do a big 1,000-foot view of Security Onion and then do how to do it with pfSense and maybe do a separate video on Wazoo on it, or not. I don't know. That one's really hard. So hopefully that helps. So what else do we have here? Any thoughts on the Red Hat Linux certs? Not really. I don't have any certs, but if you want a job that requires certs, get certs. That's my answer for anytime you ask about certs, insert name of cert you want. If you want a job that requires certs, like the hiring managers say need certs, get those certs to get that job. Yeah, Wazoo's awesome. It's just, it's not for faint of heart. It's not like a plug and play drop in easy. What do you do with retired equipment that still works? I don't know. Recycle it. Usually, if the customer wants to sell it or try to recoup some value on there, a lot of times they don't care and we'll just do whatever with it. Most of it gets recycled. Would Splunk help with the logs? You could use Splunk for logging. I don't. I like Security Onion for logging, so. Yeah, Security Onion is a bear to set up, but it's amazing how much in there. So I've looked at SIEM on Elasticsearch, but seeing as Elasticsearch and everything's built into Security Onion along with everything else, I like Security Onion because it's a one-stop shop for everything being in one place. So I think, Graylog versus Security Onion. To me, Security Onion, Graylog's good logging, but Security Onion gives you, it's extensive. That's what makes it such a difficult product to kind of easily do a review of. It just has all these features baked in, which is really great. Also makes it a little bit challenging. Monitoring, documentation. Monitoring, Zabbix. I still really like Zabbix for monitoring. Security Onion is for ingesting of logs and security events. Zabbix does a great job of just monitoring things, and there's a plugin for pfSense on it. You could also make the argument that Nagios, I don't use Nagios, but I know people that do and they love it. I started with Zabbix. I don't have any desire to go learn Nagios, and Zabbix has worked fine for me. Do you run a dummy network? We actually do. We have several dummy networks and security networks, and I work with Xavier and his company for all of that. So we have our own separate network to do all that fun stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, the AC is definitely back up and running right now. We got it fixed the same day. That's the good thing about having the AC company also be your client. They come and fix things really fast. So there's a full look around things. I am running out of voice. Bash the like button, everyone. There's 300 of you, but 73 likes. I think that needs to be changed. Look at this. Let's see if we get this on the page here. Oh, it's over here. So playbacks. Oh, likes. There we go. Boy, is that really small. It's easier if I just do this, I guess. I'm trying too hard. Look at that. 97, 104. Come on. Keep those likes coming. So, thank you all for joining me. Hit the forums. No MikroTik, Corey, but I did see a joke about OpenSense, but no MikroTik. So, yeah, we managed to survive. I think the MikroTik question people are gone because they used to show up all the time, and they aren't showing up as much anymore, so I don't see as much MikroTik people. I don't know what happened to them. How's your electricity bill? I think about $500 or $600 a month, something like that. I don't know. A lot? I guess a lot is a variable number. It's a lot to me. Is I think I'd like it to be less, but then other people are going, well, I pay a lot more. I don't know. Oh, let's see. So, thank you once again. A few more likes. I'll stay on a few. I'm a sucker to hang out here for a couple more minutes as the likes keep going up. Because it's all that YouTube algorithm stuff. And I gotta admit, if you Graham Stephan, he does some personal finance and real estate investment. He's got a YouTube channel. I do like his intro of telling everyone to bash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. So for those of you that probably follow, he has over 1 million people subscribed. I need to say that more because it really does make a difference. I don't like to do clickbait, and I try to avoid all of that, but there is a lot to playing the YouTube algorithm up, so to speak, and making sure people do something that helps with it. That does help the channel. It really does. It helps discoverability, because I noticed the more subscribers and views something gets, the easier it is for people to find. That's YouTube goes, hey, this video is popular. And so you're actually, in a way, helping others, especially when it's like a PFSense video on a specific thing. I've had someone say, I searched and you didn't come up on this particular thing, and I'll reply as a comment in YouTube, like, hey, I can't find a video on, you know, I tweeted out yesterday because someone had asked me about proxy chains. And you can do it on a channel search, but for some reason I wasn't coming up on a non-channel search when people just searched for it. So I tweeted it out the other day, but if enough people click like on that again, it will show up higher on there, and I have an in-depth video on how to do proxy chains. Matter of fact, kind of related to that is going to be this. That's how I get into Security Onion, is with proxy chains. So if you're not familiar with proxy chains, I do have a whole video on it. It allows me to only open a single port or as needed port on Security Onion, and then pivot in there and get all the web interface pushed through it through a dynamic proxy chain. So yeah, if you search my channel for proxy chains, I got a good tutorial video on proxy chains. So let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, $550 is electric bill at home versus California versus Idaho at $150. Yeah, I mean, I pay a lot less at home than I do here, and I do know electricity rates vary based on state. So what else do we got? Anything else? A few more likes? All right, I'm going to wander off before my voice gets out completely, because if my voice goes out, then it takes longer to recover, and I can't do more videos, so I'm going to wander off. Thank you, everyone, again for joining. It was great. If you're watching this in post, still smash the like button. It's still appreciated. And I'm out of here. Where's the button? What button stops it?